We hear people talk all the time about showing up authentically online. And I have said before in a previous episode, authenticity is not transparency. So there is a very big difference. But what is authenticity really, and how can it impact your business? Can it impact your business success? Well, we've pulled this highlight for you from this interview with Tracy Harris, who is so well known for just being fully her online and attracting amazing clients and customers because of it. So she's going to talk about how showing up authentically online has impacted her business. And this is important. I don't want you to miss this because I know oftentimes we fear the response of showing up fully as ourselves online. And I hope that Tracy's insight in this little highlight puts you at ease. So I'm curious about you and what that transition has looked like for you and what it's made possible for you. Because I think for some people, they see somebody like you on Instagram and they think, well, she's just always been that way. She's always been fun and energetic and able to show up in this way online. But that isn't true for you. And so can you talk just a little bit personally about what that transition has looked like? And I know you and I have talked before about being a part of groups. You kind of hinted at this a little bit, but being a part of certain groups or mentorships where you find yourself kind of morphing to try and fit the group. You find your style kind of mimicking that of the leader in the group. And then all of a sudden, you went in for business advice and you turn around one day and you're like, wait a second, I'm not even showing up as me. I'm showing up as XYZ person because that's who's mentoring me. So can you talk about kind of like what this transition has looked like for you and how the various groups or mentors that you have shaped that, and that ultimately like you have recognized that in yourself and made a conscious decision to say, I'm going to remove myself from this situation and I'm going to show up authentically as myself?
Oh, yeah. So 2 big words pop up for me, things that I've worked through and am probably continuing to work through. Because, the thing with this stuff is every time you think that you've conquered it or whatever, or you've had your big breakthrough, oh, there it comes as another little test in another area of your life or another area of your business. And you're like, damn it, I actually didn't clear that breakthrough. So 2 big words for me is perfectionist. I was, and I say I'm a recovering perfectionist because like I said, I'm sure it's going to rear its ugly head again. Perfectionist from about the age of 8 years old was my earliest memory of when I intentionally knew what that was and decided to be it. And because it was working out for me. And it was being reinforced with awards and praise and attention and love in the family. Like I was one of 4 children. And I'm pretty smart. I'm perceptive. I was figuring out like my place in the family. I was overhearing conversations like, when do they talk about me? When do they celebrate me? From 8 years old, I caught on. It was when I got awards or listening to my mum talk on the phone to say aunties overseas. It would be reporting on achievements and accolades when she would say, oh, and Tracy, oh, she's done this, this, and this. And then I can kind of hear how that's being celebrated and praised. So I'm just thinking, I'm just going to do more of this. This is great. And then the same thing for school. I figured school out from about 8 years old in terms of what the teachers were looking for in order to get certain recognition, awards, all of that. Like to the point, even in university, that I would only work or turn in a response or an assignment that would match the criteria for a high distinction, even though I could have gone way beyond it. I was like, well, if this is all they're asking for and they've just given us the criteria, I'll just go to that. I 100%, and by the way, I was a teacher for 10 years also. So I have that very unique perspective of being the student and then being the teacher and now having an online education business where I teach people how to be great educators and facilitators and coaches. But anyway, it's very interesting. That's definitely the through line for me. But to the point that they would have been better off giving me an open-ended task and just saying, show us what you got, Tracy. This is the question, show us what you got. But they never did that. They created a criteria and it was a very closed exercise. So I played the game too, I just gave them what they wanted. And they were all impressed, and then I got awards, and then I felt good about myself. And my identity as a perfectionist kept just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was working out for me. I was able to collect evidence from my everyday experience from people that I looked up to, and in the form of awards and promotions at work and things like that, that kept reinforcing and validating this identity. So, as if I was going to let it go, I thought I was killing it at life. So, anyway, there's that. Then the next thing is inferiority complex. I now know that I had, probably still do, have some inferiority complex. And in the early stages of being a digital entrepreneur, it was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but it was like my brain must be empty and this mentor over here must know all the things. So I'm just going to listen to that person. And I feel like with all of the coaching, mentoring, psychology, kinesiology, all of these different modalities that I have done and learned about and worked with experts on over the past decade now, I feel like that inferiority complex in the presence of a mentor who I can really look up to and respect comes from what I was taught about my place in relationship to people of authority. And that's really big. So things like, oh gosh, if it's a man, I had these beliefs, I don't now, but if it's a man and he's older than you or he's in a high position, like he must know more than you. So just don't ask questions, just take in exactly what they're saying. Really let them speak into you. If that person also has a title like doctor or priest, say father, or I don't know, any sort of title, oh gosh, that adds even more weight. I 100% had that as well. And that's because that was taught to me, that was modeled, it was reinforced by all of the adults in my life and seeing how they also were with people in authority. If someone was, let's just say at work, male or female, if someone was of a higher position than me, ooh, I was instantly intimidated without them even doing anything. Because again, I was like, oh, this person, like this authority really is the source, like is the thing. So I was just a good girl. That was my good girl conditioning coming in. Even though I was whip smart, if someone was in a higher position than me or had any of this other authority leadership stuff going on that I was conditioned to think is authority and to think is leadership, then I was just kind of inferior to that. And for a long time, I didn't know that I even had this way of being pre-programmed into my brain because it was running on autopilot. So if you had asked me at the time, going back many years now, if I was doing that, I would have said, no, like I wouldn't have even noticed it. I would have thought you were wild and I probably would have been offended and I probably would have been like, Shana doesn't even know me. Why would she say that about me? Yeah. Well, now I'm like, oh yeah, you did. Perfectionist and inferiority complex. And so that's how we begin to take on being something that we're not. Possibly. I don't know. I just feel like I had to share that because there's probably a whole lot of people that are going to send me a DM after this on Instagram and be like, oh my gosh, I have that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I think for me, as I'm hearing your story and I'm going, okay, so what does that look like for me? And I think for me, it was a lot of like masculine versus feminine, which I never would have just looked at myself and been like, hey, you have a lot of masculine energy. Where's your feminine energy? But I know that to be very true of myself now. And when I look back and I understand why, it's partly because of as a child, like I looked like this when I was 13. I swear, if you look at pictures of me when I was 13, like I looked like this, but maybe 10 years younger. And so I was always an object, right? It was always about like how I looked or what I wore. It was like sex appeal and I was a model and an actress from a young age. And so that was kind of who I was. And I had an unhealthy relationship with guys. And so it was very toxic in that way. And I also felt out of control in a lot of areas of my life. And having more masculine energy allowed me to feel this false sense of control. And it got even worse as I got older, especially as I became a Christian, because I wanted to fight against that feeling of feeling like a sex object. And then working in the corporate space, especially academic medical center space, where the room is full of men with lots of titles, lots of letters behind their name. And I had to present very differently as a young 20-something who was coming in and disrupting everything that they were doing. And so I know
Is that so that you could be heard there?
yeah. Oh, Yeah, I was told, that I had to present a certain way. I had to wear a certain type of outfit when I would meet with the heads of this academic medical center institution. It was just very clear the place of the young woman in the room. Now, I was very grateful to be there because I had no business being in that room, really, from the outside looking in. I'd earned a spot in that room. And yeah, so I just think that over time has continued to be part of me trying to find who I am and becoming comfortable with the feminine side of me, I guess, if you will, because that doesn't feel like that side of me has really served me well in the past. So I just kind of stuff her away, just shove her away. And you've helped me a lot with that because I think we've had conversations before where I was cutting my hair once every 3 years. I was not dyeing it. I wasn't doing anything for myself for self-care. I hated spending money on myself. And you really talked me through the process of like why I was held back from that. Like, why was I not willing to invest in the things that made me feel more beautiful? And there was a whole lot to that money complex stuff, beauty complex stuff that you've helped me work through. So when you think about it for yourself, like coming out of that struggle with perfectionism, coming out of that feeling that you are never the authority, if you will, and you're always a bit of an imposter in the space that you're in, how have you now gotten to a place where, I mean, from the outside looking in, I know you can say you've always got work to do, but from the outside looking in, like you show up more fully and authentically with such incredible energy than most people have ever seen. And it attracts the perfect people to your world and to your business, which is the most amazing part of it. But what do you feel like has helped you identify who is Tracy so that you can start amplifying who she is?
Yes. I think again, it starts in childhood, going all the way as far back as I possibly can into my earliest years of childhood, into like, I'm talking about the toddler years, before the conditioning really took place, and asking myself, like, who was she? What was she naturally gravitating towards? And this is why I just love watching your Jovi. Oh my gosh. And I also really enjoy seeing how you and Casey parent her from her soul's essence and not from your own projection of what she's putting on and why that must be, and just assigning labels, because I was very much a girly girl, whatever that means, from I think the second I started walking and talking. Like, I was picking my outfits, making life hard for my mum and dad and saying, no, I'm wearing this. And I was requesting Tinkerbell makeup. I don't know if that was big in the 80s in the States, but it definitely was in South Africa, where I spent the first 5 years of my life. And it was this cute, vintage looking Tinkerbell makeup set with a lip gloss and a powder and like whatever else was in this set. And here I was at 3 and 4, like, just like, please, like, that thing made my life. I wanted the cute little plastic shoes, the little high heels that girls have. Like, I wanted that. None of this was modeled to me. So it's not nurture, it was truly nature. And it was natural to me. Everyone used to say, oh my gosh, you're going to have to watch out for that one. And like all of those sorts of comments then started happening. Some people assigning the meaning of like certain things are provocative. I'm like, oh my gosh. Now I look back, I'm like, how's a 3-year-old provocative? Like, that's you placing your weirdness onto that very innocent soul, right? She's just there expressing herself. And so I have looked way back into my childhood to try to access, like, who am I truly before the conditioning? And what I'm trying to do now as an adult is just tap more and more into her, because she is nothing but goodness and light, and she is perfectly made, and she's designed to be like that for a purpose, which just so happens to be that women like yourself, these powerful women, come to me when they truly are ready to be unlocked and when they are truly ready to step into their true essence and create amazing things in business and in life. And They come to me to be more in touch with their feminine. They come to me to be more in touch with their authentic self. And I'm like, "Ugh." The very thing that kind of got squashed out of me or criticized for so many years is the thing also that attracts amazing women to me.